16 after 9 o'clock on News and Views right here on Solar Media. Thank you for being with me. We are together right up until 10 o'clock this morning. Now, next online, we have the chairperson of the Duff's Road Civic Association, and he's also a Durban community activist. I have spoken with him before, and it is such a pleasure to talk with him once again, Narendh Ganesh. This time around, we're talking about the open letter to the President of South Africa. And of course, it's a very strong, a letter that I guess speaks about the sentiments of very many South African citizens. I'll just read you the opening line of the letter, and then we will have Narendh online to respond to us. It starts off by saying, "Sir, if you hold the power, you bear the responsibility." And he also goes on to say, "You will soon be required as the president to deliver your State of the Nation address, an address that is meant to inspire and motivate the country to do better, to live better, and to achieve better." And sadly, Narendh, I can't say that this statement speaks to the past 2 years, very especially the July insurrection and also the fire at a parliament building. So I'm kind of wondering what on earth is going on in the country. Does the president have it together? Is this suggestive of the deep divide within the ANC? Where to from here? Narendh Ganesh, good morning. Welcome to the program. Thank you indeed for your letter to the president.
Good morning, Julie. Thanks for having me on your program.
Very worrying, is it not? I mean, I read the letter and I said to myself, this is exactly what probably every citizen in the country is thinking about. They just have not put pen to paper. What do we do? Did you receive a response? And where to from here for us as South African citizens?
Yeah, look, the state president, as the master of the team, holds a very serious and important responsibility in terms of how the country is governed. And, as we know, in any democracy, the government is elected by the consent of the governed. And I think President Ramaphosa needs to understand that being the nice, smiling character on television does not hold water when the real issues are playing out on the ground. And you're right. For example, the July insurrection is a clear example that the divide within the ANC extends beyond that of closed doors. It has now spilled onto the streets. And a State of the Nation address, while also in the letter, I clearly stated that it's my candid opinion that I do not believe it's worth the effort because it's a waste of money and resources and it's a fashion parade for the parliamentarians. But it should resonate to actionable delivery. And the president, in my opinion, does not hold sway with his colleagues who probably have agendas beyond that of patriotic responsibility to the country. And it's worrisome because we become so consumed with what was that we are forgetting what is and what will be, especially in the way the politicians, the governors of the country control and rule the country.
Okay, in your address, you also go on to say that the president promised the country a new dawn. It was all about inspiring us, being visionary and being hopeful, obviously. The new dawn was, in fact, an alternate reality, which I think has left most of us in the country very disillusioned and wondering if there is, in fact, a future and any hope for us going forward. Just prior to talking with you this morning, Narendh, I spoke with a head of a school in Roshni regarding Musi Maimani's petition calling for the 30% pass rate to be scrapped. I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous. What on earth is government, and very especially the Department of Education, trying to prove by allowing a 30% pass rate? Are they not setting our children up for further failure on top of your issues that you've raised in your letter to Cyril Ramaphosa? Here is another situation which is absolutely ridiculous and is going to truly grind our nose in the ground.
No, you're absolutely right. I, for one, am a very firm proponent of education and education of the highest standard, because we compete in the global village. And this global theater is so competitive that you need to be the best to produce and achieve the best. Now, South Africa is going in a way that we're trying to pacify people or enamel people because of political reasons to get the votes. Holding power might be one thing. And I suppose this goes with all power mongers. They will do anything. They will sell their soul just to get a vote. And when I decided to write and caution the president on this, it was as a citizen, and yes, you're probably right. It echoes the thinking of many South Africans, that as the head honcho, he must take the bull by the horn, because at the end of the day, it is very true. And that statement the opening statement you made, is a quote from the late president of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, when he says, "If you hold the power, you bear the responsibility." And that is so true, because the buck stops at his desk. Now, sadly and unfortunately, in South Africa, the way our political system is designed at this present moment, the president does not have the kind of authority that he should be having. That means making tough decisions on his own. He is beholden to his lieutenants. And, the ANC has proven over the period of time since 1994 that 1994 was a dream time. The nightmare is already in progress. It's a work in progress now. Everything in the last few years is leading us to a very dismal and dark horizon. But no, I do not lose hope, because I am still a patriot and a citizen of this country. But we have to challenge our governors that they need to look at the country first and not party. Because the moment you look at the party first, you succumb to anything and everything that relates to what has been happening. And corruption in the bureaucratic corridors has been so prominent in recent times, with the Zondo Commission report coming out. It puts us in an invidious position for the future. And Musi Maimani is right. If you don't scrap that 30%, you're going to prepare a future that is as bleak and uneducated as we can get.
So, Narendh, number one, did you receive a response from either the president or perhaps a spokesperson from his office regarding your letter? Was it acknowledged at all? And then we go on and we also look at the issues around the declining economy, increased unemployment, which is going to get even worse if we go ahead with a 30% pass rate. Corruption, the Zondo Commission in part one of their report has already outlined top figures that are involved in absolute top level and wholesale corruption. Would we be able to, is there a possibility we can actually survive that type of corruption? And then the other issue, after last year's July insurrection, the racial tensions that have been created.
Yeah. I did receive acknowledgement from the Office of the Presidency with regards to the letter. An official reply hasn't been, well, it was sent this weekend, so I will await, because SONA is probably in the first week of February. And with regards to what has been happening in this country, with the prominent figures being fingered in the report, look, the confidence of the people of any country is determined by the actions of government. That applies to every single country in the world. And should we not look very constructively, decisively, and in a manner of speaking, futuristically, then we are going to pay a price for the unemployment that's going to rise. You rightly said it's going to increase because we have another batch of matriculants who are out, many of who haven't made the cut for university or tertiary education, and who will be, as they put it, looking for a job. And with the pandemic the way it was over the last almost 2 years, the situation is becoming dire. And South Africa does not have leaders with vision. And that is the biggest problem. They are so concentrated on their power bases that they forget to understand that this is a country of people. Our constitution speaks to we, the people. It does not speak to we, the black or the white or the Indian or colored or pink, green or whatever. And it's important to realize that because if we are to be a state of in terms of a constitution, we have to apply it. The racial tensions that have started as a result of the 2021 insurrection is going to have long-term repercussions because there's already an ethos that has developed, especially when it regards Indian and our black compatriots, because there's this idea that this was an intended attack on black. Yet this was a political aspect that became criminal that was now tainted into a racial aspect. It's worrying. It worries me because as a patriot of this country, I want this country to do well. I want every citizen to have opportunities. But the ANC government has failed the people. Now, we cannot, like a broken record, keep on saying they have failed the people. We need to act. But unfortunately, the people repeat the nonsense by putting them back into power. And as the president of the country, if we don't have somebody who, as I normally describe it, who has the testicular fortitude to take his own comrade on, to say that this is a country that needs to grow, it does not need to stagnate because of our personal agendas, we are in serious trouble.
So, Narendh, let's just go back to the response from the Office of the President. They acknowledged the concerns you've raised, but was there anything concrete that came out of that? And
No.
in terms of going forward, I'm thinking I had an interview last week with Nazir Paulson from the EFF, and in that interview he stated that the ANC will not be in power in the year 2024. Your thoughts?
No, the acknowledgement was simply, I think it's a standard response that comes from the Office of the Presidency with regards to correspondence sent there. So I will await any more substantial, hopefully in the next 2 weeks. Look, whether the ANC is in power or not, what we need to worry about is who might succeed them. Because every political party has got glorified ideas, and I take umbrage with aspects of the EFF myself, openly, because its leader has openly flouted the idea of racial aspects himself. So I'm very wary of that, but be that as it may, that might be a topic for another day. But I am more interested in if the ANC continues to be in power and it continues to manifest its nefarious agendas, especially when it comes to individuals. Philosophically, the ANC might be a wonderful organization. When last did you hear anyone invoking the Freedom Charter? Because it talks about the people. It does not talk about race or divisions in the country. yet nobody is invoking it. So going forward, if the people of this country, and this, generally our South African electorate isn't as educated. I don't mean this in a nasty sense. I mean it in the sense that they are bent on loyalty rather than on, uh, looking
Absolutely.
at the realities of the situation. Because in the local government elections last year, for example, you would find that a lot of people have been elected who are not really worthy candidates. It's not because the people didn't look at them. Because they belong to a political party, that a logo that they identified with, they voted. Now, local government, for example, is about the individual, the capacity. Even if you hated the party, but if the person who represented them was someone you knew who could deliver, you should have voted for him. So it's a massive learning and teaching process that's going to happen. But if we don't start and if we don't actively do it, then generations yet unborn will pay a serious price for our apathy. And what legacy do we leave thereafter?
So, Narendh, I'm thinking I alluded to the EFF stating that come 2024, the ANC are not going to be in power. Perhaps they are aspiring to that position. However, there was a rally in KZN yesterday, and the crowds came out in their masses to hear Julius Malema speaking. He again, I think, incited the masses by, in his speech, suggesting that they are going to expropriate and these were his exact words, they are going to expropriate land without compensation, and they are eyeing Umhlanga of all places. That is scary, isn't it?
It is. I mean, we should also expropriate his house. He lives in a very elite suburb, so his house should be expropriated as well. You see, Julius Malema is a very blinkered thinking leader, in the sense that he is wrapped in this idea that this is a country for the black people. This is a country of people. I cannot stress that more. And by him citing that kind of rhetoric, let's go to Umhlanga being the so-called elite area of eThekwini. He is trying to instill fear into people. But at the same time, it's a political agenda. He's trying to ramp up his base, because an unemployed person, if he's got no place to live, no food, no clothes, and he's asked to kick a door open, he's got nothing to lose. So he obviously, like Donald Trump in America, who has used the people for his own end. The same thing applies to Julius Malema. And we need to stop that, because it will be a very tragic day if Julius Malema ever, which I doubt it will ever happen in my lifetime, and I hope I'm right, that he will become leader of this country. Because his thinking does not entail democratic principles. It's sectional, it's in many ways narcissistic, which is dangerous. So trying to tell people who have earned their money, who have made sure they buy a house or a property that they can live happily with their families, that we're going to come and take it from you without compensation, I think he's barking up the wrong tree, and he might be in for a very nasty surprise if he continues with that or attempts to physically, do anything.
Narendh, that's all we have time for. We will hopefully hook up with you again sometime in the future. Go well, and please make your voice heard all of the time. Don't let it be silenced. We need voices like yours to make people sit up and realize just where we're at in this country. Thank you indeed for your valued input and your time. Go well and have a great day.
Thank you kindly, ma'am. You have as well.
8:35 exactly. News and views right here on Salam Media.
These days,